Have you ever wondered what the Catholic Church says about the LGBTQ community and those with alternative lifestyles? This is a growing trend in our country with the topic of gay rights and the right to marry. So it's important to know exactly what the Church teaches. The teachings behind this topic come from St. John Paul the Great's program, Theology of the Body, which here examines the idea of to love or to use something. This great saint wrote about the idea of utilitarianism. I know, that's a massive word, but its meaning is actually quite easy to understand. It's the process of using a person to get something else. And believe it or not, we do it all the time. Here's one good example. Imagine you're heading home from school on a Friday afternoon and you don't have any plans. You would rather not spend the evening alone. So you call one of your friends and ask, do you want to hang out? You make plans to play video games, watch a movie, or do something you enjoy together. But on the way to your friend's house, you get another phone call. This friend wants to know if you want to go to a party later that night. All the popular kids are going to be there. You think it's an easy choice. You call your close friend back and say you can't get together, and you head home to eat and get ready for the party later that night. Well, St. John Paul the Great says that the two people have been used in this situation. The first friend, as you were just using him or her so you wouldn't have to be by yourself, and also you're using the second friend so you can go to a party. These might not seem like a big deal, but it shows how we make decisions to fulfill our desires. And on a deeper spiritual level, this is what St. Thomas Aquinas would say is happening in our soul. Our soul is made up of our three parts, intellect, will, and emotion, which includes all the parts that you see here. When we use our desires to make decisions for things, it leads to using something or someone. He teaches that we should use another part of our soul to make decisions, that being our will. When we do this towards other people and will for their good, it's called love. Note how the Church's definition of love is a lot different than our world's, which says love is a feeling or sometimes an infatuation. St. Thomas says it's a choice for someone else, and it certainly makes a lot of sense. So now, let's go back to the party example. You have two choices, sticking with the agreement to get together with the first friend or to go to the party with the second friend. Staying with the first choice shows you care about the good of a friend you already agreed to spend time with. Going with the second choice shows you are using another person or situation to get something the first friend doesn't provide. So now, hopefully these ideas will make sense in the Church's teachings on the purpose of sex. We have two choices of couples who want to become married. Male with female and same-sex couples. Male with male and female with female. Now the Church looks at marriage with its original purpose ordered by God, which was to have sex and procreate. All sets of couples will most likely participate in this. The Church teaches that the act of procreation or sex must have two conditions. First, there must be love between the two persons for one another. And secondly, the couple must be open to procreation through this act of love. So, let's take a look. The first condition certainly can apply in both situations. The partner can love the other and meet the Church's definition of love, which is willing the good for another person. But now, when you look at the second condition, only one type of couple is open to procreation, the only one that can physically procreate or bear a child formed from between the two. And applying St. Thomas's teachings, since only one couple is able to love and procreate, the other couple would be using sex simply for pleasure since they cannot create a child together. So, this is why the Church teaches that there is only one acceptable form of marriage, and that is between a man and a woman, because the two meet the conditions of the purpose of sex. The Church teaches that there is a virtue we can practice to help us in this area. The virtue is called chastity, and it's the proper use of a person's sexuality. In simplest terms, if you are not married, you use chastity to refrain and avoid all sexual behavior. However, the evil one knows how powerful the sexual urge is and has created his own plan. His plan is to get people crazed about sex in our world. He does this through songs, movies, videos, websites, and behavior. And it's the sexual behavior that is destroying young people, couples, and future families apart. The devil uses temptation to get people to commit sexual acts outside of marriage, fall into the trap of masturbation, and the search for pleasure through pornography with inappropriate videos that are easily obtained on the internet today. The evil one knows how strong the sexual urge is and decides to use great effort to tempt and weaken single people today, especially teenagers. His simple goal to get them to use their bodies instead of saving them for loving their future husband or wife. And in every situation, the temptation and sin is the same, to use someone else for gain or pleasure. The church teaches that there is a way to fight this battle, and it's through the virtue of chastity. So hopefully you can start to now see the answer to this question. The church says that those who are alternative lifestyles are just like any other single person. All single persons must practice chastity. And all single persons must not perform sexual acts or behaviors outside of marriage. But again, the church knows that this temptation is very strong and the challenge is very difficult. If a single person falls into the trap of sin, he or she should immediately come to their faith for help, especially through the sacrament of confession and through prayer. There have been countless success stories of people who have struggled with sexual sins, who have been helped through the relationship with the Blessed Mother and through the regular use of the Rosary. So hopefully you can see that the church allows those who are LGBTQ to be Catholic, but they must follow the conditions required of all single persons. It's helpful to remember these steps in this area. We should always welcome those who have alternative lifestyles to the church. And if you discover there are some people with this lifestyle at your church, be nice and friendly to them. No one likes to be ignored. The church also teaches us to love all persons. A person from a different lifestyle has a story and a journey, and God may be using you to guide them. And lastly, help those with alternative lifestyles by living your faith with the right example, especially in the area of chastity. Actions definitely speak louder than words. And if you're a person who has struggled with confusion or sins in these areas, we strongly recommend that you look for answers in the church. Its teachings are all a part of God's master plan for you, and the more knowledge you have, the better. Also, look to the example of the saints who have fought these battles before you. Saint Maria Goretti and Saint Agnes are two great role models to study to help you in this fight against sexual temptation. And always remember to pray. Setting aside daily time with God will help guide your heart, give you peace, and direct you along the right path.